Good afternoon. Good afternoon. You have to write notes for revenue. We completed that. The heading. Revenue administration under British. Good afternoon. Right on. Continue. This before British. Land was center to the land was to center to traditional Indian economy. Traditional Indian economy. Next, in the pre-capitalist Indian economy, absolute ownership. In the pre-capitalist Indian economy, absolute ownership of land did not exist. Absolute ownership of land did not exist. All classes connected with land, all classes connected with land possessed certain rights. Certain rights. Possessed certain rights. The cultivator possessed the right to cultivate, and enjoyed security of tenure security of tenure with payment of Yes, Aditya. We just started around 5 minutes ago. How much space? Around 6 lines? 6 to 7 lines. Safe side. 6 to 7 lines. A space of 6 to 7 lines. Okay. Right to cultivate and enjoyed security of tenure with payment of a fixed rent. A fixed rent. Right on. You also continue, Aditya. Village headman, the village headman acted as revenue collector and submitted the accounts to the rulers. The village headman acted as revenue collector and submitted the account to the ruler. Generally, the land revenue varied between 1/3 to 1/6 to 1/3 of the produce. Varied between 1/6 to 1/3 of the produce. Okay. The state, last line, one last line. The state have invested, the state invested on improvement of, here state means ruler only, okay. Improvement of land productivity and irrigation. Okay. Now, under British. Okay. After securing the Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa, after securing the Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa, the company considered India as a vast estate which is entitled to collect revenue. Entitled to collect revenue. The company imposed no, instead of imposed, write like this. The company introduced different land revenue structures different land revenue structures depending upon many circumstances. Depending upon many circumstances. First we'll start with, we have already discussed in that order on, 1765 to 72, 72 to 77. Then Permanent Settlement Act, Raitwari Act, Mahalwari Act. Okay, so we'll write in that order only. So put the heading Revenue Administration under Dual Government. Put the heading Revenue Administration under Dual Government. Okay, put the heading Revenue Administration under Dual Government. So you can write the timeline also, 1765 to 72. 1765 to 72. Right. After securing the Devani rights, the major concern of the company was to collect as much revenue as possible. They introduced several land revenue settlements. To maximize collection. Next, traditionally, in Bengal, Nawabs used to collect revenue from collect revenues from Jamindars who controlled large areas Next part. Under large jamindars, can I repeat from traditionally? I'm repeating the last point. Traditionally in Bengal, Nawabs used to collect revenue from zamindars who controlled vast areas. Under large jamindars, comma. Many smaller zamindars operated. Many smaller zamindars operated and submitted the revenue to big zamindars. Next, peasants undertook cultivation. Undertook cultivation and paid revenues to zamindars at customary rates. And paid revenues to zamindars at customary rates. Okay. So here it is under. So 1765 to 72 means it was under, company was under dual government. Who was the official? Robert Clive. From 72 onwards, Warren Hastings. Robert Clive continued the old system of revenue collection. Continued the old system of revenue collection from 1765 to 71. Under this, comma, although native officials were in charge of collection, but European officers were given supervisory authority over them. Supervisory authority. So generally they followed the same method. That is, earlier Nawabs used to collect the revenue from the peasants through zamindars. So here also they continue to the same thing, because Bengal is a place where there are a lot of zamindars actually. So company also continued, but the company maintained supervisory authority over those zamindars, revenue collectors. The revenue collectors deducted about 10% of the collected amount. Deducted about 10% of the collected amount. And submitted the balance to the company. Okay. Drawbacks of this system. The company increased the demand. Every year. Company increased the demand every year from the collectors. The collectors, next point. The collectors in return increased the demand from peasants, increased the demand from peasants. Okay. Therefore, peasants were the worst sufferers. Peasants were the worst sufferers. Next. No efforts towards agriculture. No efforts towards agriculture. This led to deadliest famine of 1770. 1770, which wiped out one-third of Bengal population. Okay, so that is the first system, which is a continuation of Bengal system only. Next one is 72 to 77. What was that? Ijadari system. Very good. It was introduced by Warren Hastings in 1772 in Bengal. He auctioned the right to collect revenue to the right to collect revenue was given to whom? Highest bidder. Very good. To highest bidders. Next, the district collector was made in charge of revenue collection. In charge of revenue collection. Initially, it was a 5-year settlement. Which was later made annual settlement. So 72 to 75, 5-year settlement. From 77 onwards, annual settlement. This is also called as revenue farming system, or annual leasing system? Annual lease, LEASE, lease system. Okay. However, over a period of time, Ishardhari system failed. Okay, Ishardhari system failed. This led to a confusion within the company. This led to a confusion within the company. Okay. This resulted in resulted in this resulted in devising more standard revenue settlement, more standard settlements, revenue settlements. So what are the permanent settlement, Raitwari settlement, Mahalwari settlement, right? Those three. Okay. First one, permanent settlement. Permanent settlement system. Right on. When Cornwallis came to India as Governor General in 1786, when Cornwallis came to India as Governor General in 1786, India was Bengal only. Okay, Governor General of Bengal, 1786, comma. Warren Hastings land revenue system Warren Hastings land revenue system has created many problems. Has created many problems. Next, full stop. Cornwallis realized that Cornwallis realized that that the current system is impoverishing the country, ruining agriculture, ruining agriculture, and ultimately affecting the company, and ultimately affecting the company. Okay. Companies' trade also suffered due to this. Companies' trade also got suffered. Hence, hence, he decided to fix the situation, to fix the situation. Okay. With consultation with consultation of board officials, other officials. Who? John Shore and James Grant. With consultation of Sir John Shore, James Grant, with consultation of John Shore, James Grant, and with instructions of court of directors, he introduced permanent settlement in Bengal and Bihar, in 1793. Earlier, in 1790, it was introduced as 10-year settlement. 10-year settlement, which was later made permanent in 1793. Which was later made permanent in 1793. That is assessment forever. Assessment forever. The land revenue was fixed in perpetuity. The land revenue was fixed in perpetuity. Perpetuity is forever. Fixed in perpetuity. And also fixed at high level. Also fixed at high level. It was introduced in Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Varanasi, and northern districts of Madras. Madras. Was also introduced in Chota Nagpur region. It was also introduced in Chota Nagpur region. Okay. Features. Zamindars were recognized as owner of the land. Zamindars were recognized as owners of the land. Who could sell, transfer, or mortgage the land. Mortgage, MORTGAGE. Mortgage the land. These rights are hereditary. These rights are hereditary and transferable. The revenue rate was fixed. The revenue was fixed actually, not just rate. Revenue was fixed, and zamindars were required to pay. Zamindars were required to pay this fixed amount out of the collected revenue. Out of the collected revenue, 1/11th goes to 1 second. 1/11th is kept by zamindar, where 10/11th goes to the company's treasury. One by 11th goes to the zamindar, and 10/11th goes to the company's treasury. The zamindar can even collect more than the fixed amount more than the fixed amount and can retain the excess amount. Next, the sunset law. The sunset law enabled the company. The sunset law enabled the company to auction the land in the event of failure of payment. Failure of payment of failure of payment. Okay. The state has no relation with, no contact with peasants. The state has no contact with the peasants. Okay. So, merits. It provided a stable supply of fixed income for the state. Instead of using state, what should we use? Company. Fixed income for the company. Next, it saved the government expenses. Okay. The zamindars who possessed great powers were made to collect revenue. The position of zamindars depended on the company. The company. It facilitated a method of collection of revenue for the company. It removed the requirement of maintenance of revenue collectors. removed the requirement of maintenance of revenue collectors, like earlier 5-year settlements. Value of land has increased. Value of land was increased. Land has increased. Cultivation has been extended and gradually improved. Okay. Demerits. Demerits. Demerits, no? Write down, Shashank. Demerits. The responsibility of land development was left in the hands of the responsibility of land development was left in the hands of zamindars. Who did put very less efforts according to Holmes. According to Holmes, permanent settlement was a great blunder. Permanent settlement was a great blunder. Full stop. This system overlooked the interests of peasants. Overlooked. Overlooked. What happened, Abdullah? Clear. Overlooked the interests of peasants. Peasants. Peasants have no occupancy rights. No occupancy rights. Occupancy. It was corrected later, no? Earlier, occupancy rights, matlab, they were just tenants in those lands. They can be removed. They can be removed at any point of time from by zamindars at their will. That's why it became a major issue. That's why it was corrected finally in 1859 Act of 10, which have recognized the occupancy rights. Occupancy rights means if any peasant cultivates same field for 12 years consecutively, the peasants will have some rights. What is that right? Occupancy rights. So not just tenants. Okay, but now they were just tenants. What you written? Peasants have no occupancy rights, and they were just reduced to the status of peasants. Reduced to the status of tenants. They were just landless laborers. They were just only landless laborers. All the traditional rights related to land were taken back. They were exploited by zamindars. They were exploited by zamindars through abwabs, illegal taxes. In bracket. They have no one to appeal. They had to work at the will of zamindar. They had to work at the will of will, W-I-L-L. The zamindars had the right to evict the peasants from the land. The zamindars had the right to evict, E-V-I-C-T, evict the peasants from their lands. Okay. So according to Holmes. According to Edward Kelbrook, according to Edward Kelbrook, write down. Write down. Permanent settlement sacrificed the interests of peasants. Sacrificed the interests of peasants. It deprived the hereditary rights. Next point. Deprived their hereditary rights of the soil, hereditary rights in the soil. Next, they were just at the mercy of landlords. They were just at the mercy of landlords who suffered extortion. Extortion, extortion, E-X-T-O-R-T-I-O-N. It just created feudalism at the top. Feudalism at the top and serfdom at the bottom. Serfdom at the bottom. Write a question here itself. We'll continue the notes, but put the question in a box. Okay. Write the question. The permanent settlement. Same statement. I will give the same statement. The permanent settlement has created feudalism at the top. Feudalism at the top and serfdom at the bottom. Justify. $15 marks. So what do you understand by this, and tell me what you have to write. So how you'll write answer to this question, Amit? At the top. You're talking about the top. What is feudalism? What is feudal setup? Which you have discussed many times in late ancient period, early medieval period. We have discussed already that. So see, basically, what is feudalism? In medieval periods, we have seen feudalism. No? What is feudalism? Is nothing but a land-based relationship between whom and whom? Overlord and feudal lord. So you mentioning ruler, no? So ruler is that overlord. So in feudal setup, we have overlord and feudal lord, and sometimes we have sub feudal lord, and then we have at the bottom peasants. So in medieval times, this is the feudal setup in India, where generally, let us say this is the state, the land, so which belongs to overlord. So, and in this state, so under overlord there will be some feudal lords. Let us say this land is under this feudal lord, but though this land is under feudal lord, but this is under the overlord. So he generally accepts the authority of overlord, and he also pays tribute to the overlord. So this is the general concept of feudalism. Sometimes इसके अंदर सब feudal lords भी हो सकते हैं. So he is under him, he is under him. So sub feudal lord under feudal lord under overlord. But who is the real one? Who is the cultivator? It was a peasant. So peasants cultivate the land, till the land, and pay some taxes to the sub. So who pays tribute to feudal lord? Who pays tribute to overlord? So it's like a chain of hierarchical system which is based on land. So same thing is similar to permanent settlement act also. Here what do we have? Company. Here what do we have? Jamindars. Here what do we have? Peasants. Isn't it? So that's why I'm saying it created feudalism at the top. And what's the second statement? Serfdom at the bottom. Why I said that? It related to peasants. So what is serfdom? Serfdom. I have discussed this also many times in our medieval classes. So, you know serfdom? You forgot, no problem. I will explain. Sashank, serfdom. Ashok. Tenant farmers only. So what are their conditions? Exactly. They don't have any rights over land. So they are just landless laborers. They're just like landless laborers who works in that land for their sustenance. But they don't have any rights over that land. They are bound to the land. They are bound to the land and can be removed at will by the master. So actually this is more a system which has existed in Europe actually, where let us say this is the estate of a master. So this is the estate of master. So in this estate there will be mansion. Okay, there will be workers' quarters, and there will be land. Okay, so these peasants' families are attached to master. Attached to the master in the sense they were attached to this land. So they have to work on this land at the will of master. They are bound to land. So will they have any rights over this land? No, rights are with master only. So, but they have to cultivate this land. They have to cultivate this. Let us say they cultivated 100 bags of grains, and these peasant, let us say there is a peasant and his family. So what master will provide in return? Master, out of this produce, master will provide some share for sustenance of this family. So they also have to eat and survive, to work. So he will provide. So let us say he shared some 15 bags of grains with peasant family. So that means this is peasant share, rest is master share. Got it? So he won't be having any wages. The master will only provide the sustenance for the peasant family, and he will be attached to this land. He will have no traditional rights over the land. So this system is called as serfdom. Okay. So basically, it also linked with feudalism, because under serfdom, so peasant is under master, master is under his overlord, feudal lord is under overlord. Okay. So similarly, here if we take the case of Permanent Settlement Act, same case with the peasants. Peasants have no rights. They lost all their traditional rights. Ownership rights were given to not peasants but to zamindars. But ultimately, company is the supreme lord. In Permanent Settlement Act, the system is like this. It is also hierarchical, where we have zamindars, then we have company. What this company did, company recognized that or given the ownership rights to zamindars. It does not mean that zamindars are the ultimate, because in that we have mentioned, like zamindars can sell, mortgage, transfer the land, but ultimately power lies with the company. Company is the, so here in this case we can say those zamindars are owners of the land, but company is the supreme owner of the land. For entire Bengal, Bihar, and also let us say that entire estate, so the entire estate, who is the supreme lord? The company. For that piece of land, ownership rights were given to each zamindar. So peasants became landless laborers or tenant laborers, also tenant farmers. Okay. So that's why here it is creating feudalism at top. Here it is creating serfdom at the bottom. So that will be your question. Got it? So continue. Other demerits. Okay. Continue with other demerits. Permanent settlement. The permanent settlement retarded, retarded, retarded the economic progress of Bengal. The economic progress of Bengal. Permanent Settlement Act is very important. Many times this question was repeated, actually, many questions. Retarded the economic progress of Bengal. Many of the landlords did not take any interest in improvement of land. did not take any interest in improvement of the land, but extracted maximum possible, the maximum possible rent. Maximum possible rent. The cultivator had no incentive to improve the land. See, actually there is another system. So here I have mentioned about, so this is feudalism. This is called as sub-infeudation. Overlord feudal-lord relationship, feudalism. Feudal-lord relationship, sub-infeudation. What does that is called as? Sub-infeudation. Matlab, feudal-lord under feudal-lord under feudal-lord. So this one. To differentiate, we call him as sub-feudal-lord and feudal-lord. Okay, but both are feudal-lords. Similarly, what happened in Permanent Settlement Act also? British have given rights to zamindar, but this sometimes the area is so vast. Sometimes the area is so vast, which made it difficult for the zamindar to collect revenue from the many number of peasants. So in such cases, what zamindar did? He kept many zamindars under him. A big zamindar, small zamindars. So the small zamindar have no relation with the company. This will have relation with whom? The zamindar. So sometimes in some cases, under one zamindar, there were as many as 50 zamindars. You get me? So this zamindar is under company. So entire land is under him. He will have the ownership rights. But he kept zamindars under him. And he have given the responsibility of collecting revenue from the peasants. So now imagine, if there is only one zamindar, he thinks of profit seeking. Generally, that is their motive. Company and zamindars both are under same motive, that is to extract as much as possible. Company already fixed that. Earlier, company used to extract more, but now it is permanently fixed. So company have already fixed the higher amount. That's the difference now. Earlier, company used to increase the amount annually, which I have already mentioned earlier. But under permanent settlement, it was fixed perpetually. That means it was permanent. But they know, in the beginning case itself, they have know that, okay, we cannot increase it. So from the beginning itself, they have kept it high. Okay. So now zamindar have no obligation from company, because he have to pay fixed amount to the company. But he can extract as much as from peasants. Okay, clear? So in some cases, under permanent settlement also, there is sub-infeudation, where zamindars under zamindars. So more number of zamindars, they all seeking for profit. You getting me? More number of zamindars, all zamindars are, what's their central motive? Profit seeking. So there is more extraction of peasants. You get me? So more extraction of peasants. So all the peasants in that estate gets suffered, because more zamindars all are seeking for maximum filling their pockets. You got it? So that is another major drawback. Okay, write down this. The problem of sub-infeudation in which in which the intermediaries, right, like this, all the intermediaries, in which all the intermediaries looked to maximize their profits, and the peasant was reduced to just a laborer. The peasant was reduced to just a laborer. Okay. Another disadvantage. The government also suffered under permanent settlement. Government also suffered under permanent settlement because the income was fixed. But the expenses increased day by day. Expenses increased day by day. Politically, permanent settlement see, one more thing. Now, actually, this permanent settlement had created two hostile classes who are hostile towards each other. Who are they? Zamindar class, and means the entire rural society was divided into two classes: peasant class, zamindar class. The peasant class and landlord class, who were at constant clash with each other in the future. Okay, so politically, permanent settlement had divided the rural society into two hostile classes. What are those two? Zamindars and tenants, or zamindars and peasants. Okay. Next, permanent settlement was also disadvantageous to zamindars. Was also disadvantageous to zamindars because though they have ownership rights, company was the supreme landlord. They subordinated to the state. They have to adhere to sunset clause. They had to adhere to sunset clause. That is another disadvantage. No improvement in agriculture. No improvement in agriculture. Okay, so this is about advantage and disadvantage of permanent settlement system. Okay, so Mahalwari and Raitwari will discuss tomorrow. Okay. Just go through. Hmm? Samantas also fiddlers. Samant. Samanta. Samantha kings. मेरे को भी यही लगा Samantha. But I know the context now, so that's why I answered. अच्छा, fan. Shashank might be. తెలుసు కదా, company allowed it. Obviously, because what company will lose from that? See, as long as Jamindar ensured the full submission of amount, whatever it was fixed, so company has nothing to do with. Only if the amount was short or the amount was delayed, then only company removed the Zamindar. So, in what, whether he will collect more from the peasants or less from the peasants, or he will have many intermediaries under him, company has nothing to do with that. The only thing that company want is the Zamindar should submit the account in full and by time. That's it. Berlin Decree and Milan Decree are nothing but under those decree means orders actually. So after conquering those states in Europe during the times of Napoleonic Wars, so he imposed sanctions, economic sanctions on those countries, that they should not allow the British ships into those ports which are under their control, ultimately under the control of Napoleon. So that's what overall we call it as continental system. The continental system is nothing but not separate actually, through which was imposed through Berlin Decree and Milan Decree. So what is that continental system? It means no British ship should be allowed to anchor into the ports which are under Napoleon's control, direct control or indirect control. Write some questions. Regulating Act 1773. Regulating Act of 1773 was an experiment. Put semicolon. Fits India Act of 1784. Regulating Act Regulating Act of 1773 was an experiment. Fits India Act of 1784 was a settlement. That's the statement. Full stop. Examine. Examine. Okay. 15 marker. Next. Examine. The evolution. Examine the evolution from diarchy examine the evolution from diarchy to direct control in British India. From that means from where to where? From where to where? Diarchy to direct control मतलब कहाँ से कहाँ तक? No. Is it 65? No. 65? No. No. कहाँ से? No. कंपनी डायरकी विद इन द कंपनी कब से आया? 1784. मैंने बताया ड्यूअल गवर्नमेंट विद इन द कंपनी. व्हाट इज दैट? बोर्ड ऑफ कंट्रोल प्लस court of directors, commercial affairs plus political affairs. That means this question is from, you have to write simple. Once you understand the question, everything is simple. So from 1784 to 1858, direct control. Okay. Oh, 15 mark. Compare the expansionist policies of Robert Clive, Warren Hastings, and Wellesley. Robert Clive, Warren Hastings, and Wellesley in shaping the territorial foundations of British Empire in India. In shaping the territorial foundations of British Empire in India. 20 mark. The defeat of Marathas laid the foundation of laid L-A-I-D L-A-I laid the foundation of British paramountcy in India. Laid the foundation of British paramountcy in India. Full stop. Examine. 10 marker. Okay. Right. So we'll continue tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Good day.